It will suck, but it will get better. You sure about that? I.S.S. was directed by Gabriella Calperthwaite, who's done The Grab, Our Friend, and Blackfish, as well as other projects. Check out her IMDb page for the fullest of her work, and was written by Nick Schaefer. Not to be confused with Marina Schaefer, because we still don't know her. This is Nick's feature writing credit, and takes place on the International Space Station. If you couldn't gather, that's what I.S.S. was the shorthand for. I really don't know what I can do to help you. You might want to get outside once in a while. Maybe don't go to the International Space Station, because they're going to wonder, how the fuck did you get here? How did you not go through explosive decompression? And how the hell did you get that spacesuit? Oh my god, what are you doing with that wrench? No, what are you doing with those chips? No, freedom, horrible, horrible freedom. Might as well reference The Simpsons and have a little bit of fun with this goddamn thing. Don't worry, I'm not tipping my hand yet as to how I felt about I.S.S. So, yes, you have 3 Russian cosmonauts and 3 U.S. astronauts. Haha. Yes, it's a joint venture after the Cold War was done, and obviously, U.S. and Russia relations have never been better. Nothing bad is going on now that would necessitate a movie like this existing. I can't imagine there's a scenario where I.S.S. should ever goddamn exist. Yeah, I'm tipping my hand as to how I felt about it. Let's just get into the cast. Let's talk about the cast. The cast has got to be able to save this. You have Dr. Kira Foster, who was Ariana DeBose, who was in Hamilton. That was good. She was also in Wish. Wish was not so good. Wish was ass. That's not Ariana's fault. Actually, she is quite good, and I hope she gets to be in better projects. Better than this. Yeah, I didn't like I.S.S., just in case you're wondering, but I'll tell you why I didn't like it here in a bit once I get through the rest of the cast, which isn't going to take very fucking long because there's only 6 people. That's about 6 too many. Chris Messina, who is in Devil and Argo. Devil, remember the one about the haunted elevator or the devil being in an elevator? He plays Gordon. Not Gordon's fish sticks. That would be too goddamn hilarious. And Christian, at last Christian Campbell is on his own, played by John Gallagher Jr., not to be confused with the man that used to mash watermelons. He was in Hush. That was the one about, I believe it was the one lady with the I think was mute. She was mute or deaf. I think she actually was deaf. And she was the one that was in The Haunting of Hill House, and she had to fight off him that, he was a robber. And then you also have the 3 Russians. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their names, but as far as the actors' names, but you have Veronica, and then you have Nikolai, and then you have Alexei. Alexei was played by the guy that was an Overlord and also the villain in Samaritan, and I like to call him Pillow Abstract because I can't pronounce his fucking name. He has been in a lot of stuff. He's been in good stuff. It's just that Overlord and Samaritan weren't 2 of them. So, yes, you have these 3 U.S. astronauts. Haha, if you get where that's from, I love you guys. And these 3 Russian cosmonauts. The Russian cosmonauts are there, and then we have these U.S. astronauts that are up there, and everything is going to be fun. Everything is going to be fine. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's getting acclimated. Christian's a bit of a weirdo, but he's smart. And Dr. Kira Foster, she's there. She's the woman. She, sees mice being tested in, like, 0 gravity. And Pillow Abstract is also there, and these characters are so distinct, I struggled to remember anything about them. I think Christian had a couple kids, and there was a few other things that were discussed, not necessarily that much, and then suddenly this life-altering event happens on Earth, and messages were sent to the U.S. and the Russian astronauts to take the I.S.S. by force by any means necessary. Memes would have helped this movie. In fact, I'm convinced this movie was a meme. In fact, I'm convinced this movie was made on a dare. Apparently, and this is one quick spoiler, this was dedicated to a couple people in memory of, and look, if this meant something, if these 2 people meant something to the cast, the studio, whatever, okay, I can't fault that. I'm not even going to knock the fact that the cast is basically totally miscast, not even having one-note characters. There's almost nothing to these characters. They just start doing shit, because once this life-altering thing happens on Earth, and they get these messages. You ever see the movie Life, where, they did that really, really stupid thing, that amoeba ended up growing and ended up killing everybody? And it was really, really fucking bad because every character was stupid and bad, everything. Or do you remember the Cloverfield paradox? Do you remember like any space movie where stuff actually happens and there's sort of a reason? Kinda, maybe, sorta. But you can get a little entertainment out of it? Yeah, well, you're not going to get any entertainment out of I.S.S. This movie should have been called SIDS. In fact, I'm actually convinced that that's where the goddamn idea basically passed right there. That's mean, because I'm sure there was a good idea here, but this has the reeking of studio interference. This is absolutely abysmal. This is a movie that should have gone right to streaming. This, sadly, might not even be the worst movie of the year. We are not even 3 weeks in. I don't know if this is worse than Night Swim. I had low expectations for this. I saw it's from a studio called Bleecker Street that had 3 or 4 trailers before this. Bleecker Street new. I have not really heard of them. I think I maybe seen one of their movies. I can't recall what the fuck it is. But I do have a few questions before I get into any spoilers here. In regards to take the I.S.S. by force while this shit's happening on Earth. Few questions. Would the losing team have to watch the winning team blow up their country, blow up the outside world, blow up the outside world, as Chris Cornell once said? Would the winning team get control of this unknown laser gun that could possibly solve this life-altering thing on Earth? Why in the world, if stuff's going on down on Earth and they need to band together and everything because maybe they're the only 6 people that could do anything about this stuff, why would they need to take control from the other person? What is actually happening here? And mind you, even though they try to imply what is actually going on in this movie, none of those questions actually get answered, because why bother with that? Let's just have people do stupid stuff, defy physics, defy logic, defy time as it is. There's only 6 people in this, and somehow it manages to not even have enough character for one of them. Not even one whole person. Between 6 people, you don't even have enough character for one whole person. Bra fucking Vo movie. Bra fucking Vo. One of the most terrible sci-fi movies I have seen in a while. And there's a good cast here. Even Pillow Abstract, who, again, can't pronounce his name. It's Pilou. It's Pilou. It's like the Cheshire Cat or the Caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland. And you get the barest minimum stuff, which that's fine if you don't have an explanation, much of an explanation besides, oh, this shit's happening, and okay, these people are doing this, but you don't have any reason to root for any character. There's no good character because there's no character. And people are just stupid and doing stupid stuff. And yes, the International Space Station is big enough where you could probably do something and maybe nobody would know what the fuck is going on, but for being on the International Space Station, this whole thing is taking place in like 2 rooms. And also the special effects are goddamn dog shit. I'm sure this movie had a small budget. This movie really didn't deserve a bigger budget because it was, quite frankly, abysmal and one of the most embarrassing time wasters that I have seen in theaters. And that's saying something because I watched the new Mean Girls and I watched Night Swim. Again, not worse than Night Swim, but definitely not good. That line, "it will suck, but it will get better," is said during the beginning of the movie or near the beginning of the movie. And let me tell you right now, this movie actually somehow gets worse, and that is an accomplishment. During the trailer, they sing Winds of Change, space karaoke. I was ready to be thrown out into space and just die hearing them sing. And, God damn it, everybody's done. Everybody is just a stupid character. The explanation for what's going on, I mean, you sort of get an explanation. And maybe there was a deep narrative or a deeper thing that got cut from the movie. They could have just cut the entire goddamn thing. We wouldn't have missed shit. And they could have just wrote it off and they could have said, let's go do something better. They didn't do that, though. I.S.S. truly was terrible. One of the most horrifying sci-fi movies I've seen in a while. And not horrifying in a good way. Check it out in theaters if you want, or it'll be on streaming probably by the time this review goes up. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Yeah, I don't see this making a dime at the box office. So, the oxygen gets shut off. It turns out that Christian actually was doing this whole thing, even though they tried to make it seem like Nikolai, one of the 3 Russians, was actually doing this whole thing. It was actually this guy, Christian. Why? Because it turns out that there's all this, interplay between people where it's like, Kira, you need to get down to Earth. even though, and this is one thing I forgot to mention when I started the spoilers, basically there's an all-out missile nuke war thing between Russia and the U.S. Why? Why not? Why the fuck not? Why not? What explanation do we need? U.S., Russia, we hate each other, evidently, I guess. I don't hate any Russian people. You guys are cool with me. But they at one point, Gordon goes out to fix something because it's implied that he needs to fix one particular thing, but it turns out that it's actually not broken. And this guy Nikolai hits him with something, and Gordon seemingly flies off. Keep that in mind. And then we're down to 5 people, and then we get more bullshit. And then Veronica, the Russian lady, makes a deal with Kira and says, "Hey, I need your key to go do something. I'm going to go get a gun drill thing or whatever, some flamethrower deal." I think this entire movie should have had a flamethrower taken to it. Sets and everything. Sorry if you set designers actually worked hard on it, but the movie isn't worth saving. And then there's this showdown between the Russians because Alexei, for once, Pillow Abstract is not playing the villain, kinda, even though he normally does. This guy Nikolai kinda is because he hit Gordon. But then Alexei realizes, hey, wait a second, I see Gordon. I looked out on these cameras, and Gordon's just hanging on these solar panel things. It has been hours. His oxygen should have depleted. I'm sure that the technology has meant that the oxygen tanks are big, but he would have been taking giant panic breaths, not becoming euphoric and docile and accepting his fate like in Fight Club. He would have seen, holy shit, I'm here. All these nukes and all this stuff and all these missiles are going up down on Earth. The world is an inferno. And I'm just hanging out here. Oh, okay, let me know when things are good. By the way, the communications got cut, but still, even if the communications didn't get cut, just fucking out there on this stuff. Anyway, there's all this turmoil. Kira hits Veronica over the head. Apparently, Gordon and Veronica used to date. And then it turns out that Christian actually did some really bad stuff by turning off the oxygen. Because why? Because Kira was going to abandon him, and he's got kids down there. But Kira, maybe he has a boyfriend, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Veronica and Gordon used to be together. Pillow Abstract is just along for the ride and happy to be there. The mice are just floating around. They're somehow alive. But anyway, so the International Space Station has been kind of out of orbit, kind of losing its altitude, which you can't really lose in space, I guess, but you can go back towards Earth. And eventually, you would think that you could rectify that, and you two could just be on there and jetting the bodies out. And Alexei and Kira, who are the only two left, by the way, because Gordon and Nikolai get involved in a fight in zero gravity with a space drill. And then both of them get killed because movie. And Christian did it because he did not want to be left on his own. Deep cut for wrestling fans. And then Kira and Alexei decide, instead of staying in the International Space Station, maybe they hit the self-destruct button, maybe the movie just had no other way to wrap it up. They decide, hey, we're just going to go down while all these missiles are being launched down on the ground. Or as opposed to being launched in the, you get my point. All the seas are brown and the skies are gray and the skies are gray. Mamas and the papas would hate me for this, assuming any of them are still alive. So, yeah, the world's an inferno, but we're going to go down there. It's exactly like the Cloverfield paradox, except there's no Cloverfield monster. The only monster is whoever thought that this was a good idea to fund. You should have done something else with it. And they're just going down there, and then that's it. And then let's say in memory of 2 people. And look, I'm not knocking that, and I'm very sorry those 2 people passed away. I mean, and whatever they meant to the cast and crew, okay, may they rest in peace. This movie is dog shit. This was absolutely terrible. I mean, and I'm sure there were neat little ideas in here. It's just none of them were fleshed out, and everything was stamped down and ground down with a 6-inch high heel shoe, which some people are into, and I'm certainly not, and how dare you judge me for it. The whole point is this movie is terrible. I.S.S. gets an F. It gets an absolute F. It really should have just been sent into the goddamn Earth. Should have never left orbit. In fact, you could argue that this thing never really even left the ground, despite the fact that it's in space. Yeah, F. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.